Hey guys, how's it going? It's Foxy here with another Foxy FAQ video, or Foxy Facts, however you want to call it. Basically, if you haven't seen the first video, what I end up doing is answering viewer questions, and I'll even respond to comments and sometimes hate mail. Obviously, this is the second one of these videos in the series, and I don't really have anything left to intro this with, so I guess let's just get started. The first question for today is, will you ever show us your collection in depth? Yes, of course I will. I have been procrastinating on making this video for like 3 or 4 years now, and honestly I can't really give you or anyone else a good answer on when I will finally make that video. Why? Because knowing me, I'll end up pushing that date back further and further, and I don't want to get people's hopes up anymore. It's going to be one of those videos that will just sort of happen out of the blue. Knackboy writes, I've always liked your videos. Even though I do watch a lot of other game hunting videos, yours seems to be more to the point and no BS. I think you call it as you see it. I also wonder if some of the other video game hunting videos, if they are entirely real. Sometimes the pickups that they seem to get are too good to be real. He also adds, do you think other video game hunters fake their pickups? First off, I want to say thank you very much for that comment. I do feel that I am more blunt than most people, although I try not to be offensive about it. Then again, this is 2018. I am bound to offend someone no matter what I say. That's unfortunately how the world works nowadays. You cannot have a differing opinion without someone getting butthurt and sending you death threats. Anyway, to answer your question, do I think other YouTube game hunters fake their pickups? Yes and no. I feel the majority of hunters are genuine in what they find. However, there are some channels out there where I can't help but to raise my eyebrow and question, is this really authentic or is this all one big setup? Like, okay, there is one channel in specific, very, very popular, where there is a group of guys shopping around at these flea markets or even sometimes conventions, and they have this other guy filming with what I can only assume, based off of the video and sound quality, is a high-ish end setup. What I think sometimes happens is that the sellers are getting intimidated by the whole process, the whole production going on. In turn, what I think happens is that the sellers would give these guys better deals on their stuff compared to, say, you or me, because they don't want to look bad on this giant camera that's filming where hundreds of thousands of people are going to see that particular video. There are other interactions I've seen with hunters and sellers that just come across as questionable. Like, there was one video I saw, this seller who was around my age selling a bunch of old retro games, rare retro games, some of which were complete in the box and even still sealed in the box for a stupid low price. I don't buy that shit at all. I would if the seller was like, I don't know, an old fart that didn't really understand what the things were, but come on, the guy was in his mid-20s. Seriously, it's beyond unbelievable to me. This next question comes from Dylan Fan. He writes, do you like anime? I am not ashamed to say yes, I love anime. I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with that. Except the extremists. But you know what? There's extremists in every single community or fandom, whatever you want to call it. I'm just a guy who grew up watching nothing but cartoons like Ed and Eddie and Courage the Cowardly Dog. And once Toonami was a thing, I got hooked onto anime. It's something I really enjoy, but I'm also incredibly self-aware at how cringeworthy the community is. All I can say is, oh well, there's really nothing I can do about that. Since these next two questions are very similar, I will answer both of them at the same time. What is the easiest game system to collect for, and what's your favorite console to collect games for? Over the past 5+ years of collecting, I have noticed the easiest has been by far the PS2. There is so many amazing games for that system that you can find very easily for just a couple dollars a piece. I don't know what the whole deal is, but most collectors don't seem to give a shit about the PlayStation or Microsoft stuff, so I tend to come across even PS3 games, and 360 games for that matter, for pretty cheap nowadays. It seems to me like a lot of people tend to go after anything retro or even Nintendo, which makes those types of games not only harder to find, but people want more money for them. Now, my favorite console to collect for would be the same exact thing, the PS2. Of all the systems I've owned throughout the entire 26 years of my life, the PS2 has been by far the most fun for me. I have like 500+ games for that system alone, and anytime I come across a title that I don't own for it, I get excited, especially if it's a game I loved when I was a kid. Chef Danger wrote this comment on my Snakebite review from a few years ago, back when I made mildly shitty content. Anyway, he wrote as a response to Vader Man, "There's nothing wrong with this controller other than a slight decrease in response from the thumbsticks. Granted, I only play my PS3 occasionally, but this has been my controller for almost 2 years and it's still rock solid." Okay, first off, saying there's nothing wrong with this controller isn't even an opinion. That is an outright lie. I have done a video where I extensively proved that most of these dog shit third-party controllers severely hinder your accuracy due to how shitty the analogs are. Saying that there is just a slight decrease in response from the analogs is, I'm sorry, it's a lie. The dead zone is trash. The fluidity from moving around slow to fast is garbage, and the responsiveness stinks. I am sorry, but you are wrong. And no, changing the sensitivity in-game does not make the controller less shitty. I don't know why people feel the need to tell me that all the time. That is just you trying to compensate for bad hardware, which is something you should not have to do. You should not have to compensate to make a controller less shit. That doesn't make any sense. I do, however, believe that your controller still works, though, considering you admit yourself that you only occasionally use it. CJ Frice writes, "Game hunting for me is meh. How do you even get really good deals?" I actually made a video about this topic a year or so ago regarding flea market tips and tricks. I'll leave a link in the description for any of you who might be interested. I also may end up doing a revised version of that video at some point in the future, but I'm still not sure of that. If you don't like eBay, you should try out Mercari. You get a lot more views than eBay, and I've bought and sold items with all smooth transactions. Thanks for the suggestion, but I have recently started selling a few things here and there on eBay again. Mostly just duplicates of stuff I already own, and thankfully I have not run into any problems with eBay since I started selling again. Except for the fact that everyone who seems to be buying my shit comes from fucking California and is charging my shipping fees like an astronomically high amount compared to anywhere else in this country. But anyway, I've been making it a point to overly detail anything I put up and overly pack anything I ship. So again, I haven't really had any problems except for shipping cost. This next comment reads, "You're so hard on yourself. I did a shit job of filming." Man, you're doing fine. It's not like you're doing filmmaking for a living. I am hard on myself pretty much all the time. I've always been like that, even in work or in my personal life. Yeah, I'm not doing filmmaking for a living, that's true, but if by some miracle I end up being super popular on YouTube to the point where I can get a steady income from it, I don't want my content being mediocre in any way. I want to be able to provide excellent audio, visuals, editing, whatever. But I do appreciate the comment, and that does make me feel better about my shit camera work at times. You had to pay to enter that market? That's absurd. Why would you ever pay to enter a market? Do you pay to go to the supermarket as well? Would you accept that? What do I even say to this? Honestly, I thought this was one of the strangest and maybe even the dumbest comments I've ever received. So, a majority of the flea markets that I have ever been to charge either an admission fee or parking fee. So, to me, this whole fee thing is totally normal. I only go to the flea markets now about a half a dozen or so times a year since I live about 2 hours away from my regular spots. Your whole supermarket analogy thing doesn't hold any ground because you go to a supermarket out of a necessity. You need essential things like food, stuff for good hygiene, maybe clothes, whatever the case. You go to a flea market to have fun, to buy things that you want. You don't go to a flea market because you have to. You go because you want to. It's the same thing with like a convention, a gun show, whatever else. So what you are comparing to me is two completely different things that don't make any sense to compare. So that's going to wrap up this video, everyone. If you do have a question of your own, please feel free to comment below. I will probably make another one of these videos in the next couple of months. Until then, thank you all very much for watching. I appreciate it, and take care.